All right, guys, joining us here on the program is a man that needs very little introduction. He will be available as a character for all pre-orders of the new WWE 2K17 game, arguably one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling history. He held both the WCW and WWE World Heavyweight Championships. He now joins us here on Submission Radio to help us celebrate our 100th episode. Who's next, you might ask? None other than Bill Goldberg. Bill, welcome to Submission Radio.
It's an honor to be involved with you guys, man. It's a monumental accomplishment, 100th episode, so fire away, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we appreciate it. The honor is all ours, Bill. Now, thanks for your time. We know you're an incredibly busy man. We also know that you've got a great muscle car collection, which includes a 1965 Shelby Cobra and a 429 Mustang. Tell us, what have you been driving around recently, and have you had any new additions to the Goldberg collection?
Oh, God, recently, man. Recently, I've been driving a 92 Porsche around. It's something that I've stolen from my wife because the seat, unfortunately, the switch is broken and it won't go forward, so she can't drive it right now, and so I'm the only person that can keep the engine intact, and so I have to drive it every day. As far as adding anything to the collection as of late, no, man. Other than building her a 46 Willys Jeep, probably 4 or 6 months ago, I haven't delved into any other projects as of late. But doesn't mean that I'm not up there every day tinkering on something.
Wow, imagine that. Seeing Goldberg in that car, that would be amazing. Now, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, Bill, and before we talk to you about some of the other big news going on, we want to quickly touch on UFC 203 with you, which had the UFC debut of CM Punk. Now, before we get your thoughts on the actual fight, we have to find out, what were your thoughts when you found out he'd be giving this thing a try? Because a lot of people were skeptical of him getting this opportunity.
A lot of people ask me in the beginning, and in all honesty, it's like asking me about the state of professional wrestling right now. It's hard for me to pass judgment on something or somebody that I'm not fully informed about. CM Punk and I never crossed paths when I was with the WWE, and I wasn't on the independent circuit, and so I'd never met the guy. I only know from what I hear and what I read, and to see a guy 37 or 34, I don't know how old he is, but to see a guy in an advanced age who's a professional at some sport, at a given sport, and then wanting to transition to something else, obviously you look at motives behind it. And I truly believe that the kid loves fighting. It's something that, like Brock, trying professional football. I don't liken it to him doing fighting because he's an easy... That's a logical transition, but for him to play football, without any high school or any college experience and try to play in the NFL, that's like CM Punk trying to go into the UFC without any amateur fights. But Brock made a bigger splash, I think, than CM Punk did. But at the end of the day, man, I'm not going to fault him for anything except for being not smart enough to understand the difference in quality as far as experience and as far as ability is concerned, and let that override his desire to pursue a dream. I think that, working with Rufus, man, his hands should have been impenetrable after 2 years. Not impenetrable, but at the end of the day, it's tough to teach a guy who's not good with his hands how to fight with his hands. It's something that he can practice, but if it's a motor skill question, or if it's a coordination question, or if it's just something the guy's not used to doing, or if he has bad habits, he's behind the 8 ball. And when you're behind the 8 ball in a sport, where the discrepancy between you and the competition is huge, you need every advantage you can get. And obviously he had jiu-jitsu background. I don't know to what extent, but at the end of the day, I can empathize with the guy, because you're talking to a guy who wanted to fight for glory for a little while, but they couldn't understand the financial windfall that they would acquire with it, and it just wasn't a reality as far as sensible business is concerned. But at the end of the day, I can empathize with him, because I'm a mark for the martial arts. I'm a mark for fighting sports. I trained with Simon Marcus a couple of weeks ago, 2 months removed from getting both knees operated on, because it's an opportunity that you can't pass up. And why do you do it? Well, there's a huge discrepancy. There's a huge difference between talent there and experience. But I mean, I can make up for it with sheer stupidity and my ability to be hit and my strength and my, I've learned a little bit over the years. And I mean, it's just these opportunities you can't pass up. If CM Punk gets an opportunity, to fight in the UFC, then it may cloud his judgment as far as performance and his ability to compete. So, I don't fault the guy one bit, except for his inability to be as prepared as he should have been before he stepped in there, I believe. But injuries, postponed his debut, and there's reasons that fall into it. But at the end of the day, my hat's off to him. But
yeah, no, I mean,
the result was not what anybody wanted to see, except for the doubters who thought that he was doing it purely for financial gain. Which I can tell you 100%. I don't know him, but he wouldn't have risked. He wouldn't have risked what he's worked for a number of years to go out there just for money, because he could have stayed in the WWE and done that. This is a kid that followed his dream. You got to look at the aspect of what Dana White does as a promoter and what he's been preaching for years, and then what he turns around and does. It's more along the lines of a Scott Coker move, but at the end of the day, Scott Coker's pulling in, good ratings with what he puts on. So, it's a difference of philosophy, but it's a huge discrepancy in ability.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of people point to the fact that he made $500,000, but I don't think they realize that Punk, he's not the most materialistic guy, and he's obviously got a lot of money from his WWE background. Given how the fight played out, I'm wondering, Bill, do you think he should continue to fight in the UFC? Do you think he should continue to fight in general, or if maybe he should go down to like a lower level show?
Well, there's no question he should not fight in the UFC. That would be blasphemy. It would be a slap in the face to all the guys who worked their asses off to make it to, prelims on Fox, on undercards, and on the main event card. At the end of the day, from a promoter standpoint, from a competitor standpoint, from his standpoint, there's no logic to him stepping in that octagon again. If he still has the passion for it and wants to train and compete, then yeah, lower level shows are where he needs to be. I mean, because at the end of the day, he'll get seat time. I that's my analogy, because I like to race cars. But the more seat time you get, the better you are at something. And I spent 8 3-minute rounds this morning, and though I didn't go 100% and I didn't kick, I just went hands. At the end of the day, every little bit helps you. So the more time he has at his new craft or his passion, the better he's going to get at it. The more comfortable he'll be at it.
Yeah, and you mentioned before how it was a bit of a Scott Coker move for Dana White to put this fight together. We were talking about it with a few MMA analysts last week. We were talking about the fact that Mickey Gall was a bit of a tough challenge for CM Punk. Do you think UFC as a promotion and Dana White, knowing that CM Punk didn't really have that much experience going in, could have probably picked a challenge for him that was a little bit, I suppose, more matched up with his own skill set, because he have a kid who's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No matter how many years you're training with Duke and the amazing team over there, like Anthony Pettis and Tyron Woodley, you're not going to be able to catch up to that discrepancy, even if you do get your striking up to a certain level. Do you think the UFC could have picked a more reasonable opponent? And do you think maybe they didn't because they wanted to maybe even prove a point with Punk?
Only Dana White can answer that question. That's a Vince McMahon, a Dana White. That's at the end of the day, they do things because when it comes down to it, they have a reason for it. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of ways to look at it. If you throw a fish to CM Punk, then you're going to get bitched at. If you throw him to the wolves, like ultimately they did, then you're going to get bitched at. So you can't really ever do the right thing. He chose to do it the way he did it, and for the future, it blew up in their face. But like I say, at the end of the day, it was an experiment. But it may have been a friendship thing. He may have done it just because he likes Punk. I don't know. At the end of the day, he's got the stroke and he can do whatever he wants. But it just depends on what perspective you look at it from. Do you look at it from an analyst perspective? Do you look at it from a promoter's perspective? Do you look at it from a fan's perspective, or do you look at it from an athlete's perspective? Because it can be translated so many different ways.
Well, Bill, you mentioned how you did rounds today, and you've been training hard for many, many, many years. You've got your own gym as well. When you see CM Punk giving this thing a go, I mean, you mentioned glory, it didn't work out. It seemed like it was monetary reasons, but does it sort of give you that itch again to maybe revisit that avenue and maybe have an exhibition fight in glory, or is the sort of door closed on that chapter for good?
I don't think the door will ever be closed on that. I mean, I think when the commission would look at me because I was so old and they laughed at me, that would be the door closing. But hey, man, I like to have fun. At the end of the day, getting punched and kicking people and punching people, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. It means you're alive, and I enjoy it, and I love to learn. And at the end of the day, there's nobody that knows everything, and so practice makes perfect. Even at 49 years old, I still really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy learning. I'm the student of the martial art, and I'm a student of what it stands for. And it's a way of life. It's become kind of a way of life for me. It's an addiction, and it satiates a lot of things for me. And it also gives me a challenge. So never say never. You never say never.
Well, the exciting news for fans is you will be a part of the new WWE 2K17 game with two versions of yourself, a WCW and a WWE one, which will both be playable. We know you're not the biggest gamer, but what made you want to be a part of this new game?
Oh, I would say 98% my son, and I don't even know where the other 2% is. But yeah, I'm appreciative to be able to be handed an opportunity to immortalize myself on a video game for my son to play in present day. Obviously, when I wrestled, it was prior to his birth, so he hasn't had many or any things in real time to experience with me being a part of what I used to do. This is something in real time where he can see on a commercial his dad. So that's the onus behind it. That's the reasoning behind it. And that is, I'm greatly appreciative of any adulation that the fans would show towards me. And this is a way that I can pay them back in some small way that I can control. And, it also keeps me out there too. So, and it's fun. It's enjoyable to sit there and play myself as a playable character in a video game.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that it's been a while since you wrestled, because the last time WWE fans remember you, it was at WrestleMania 20, but fans still regard you as one of their favorite wrestlers. Now, we saw that you've been promoting your live appearance on Bischoff on Wrestling Podcast, which is on September 25th in Indianapolis, but by coincidence, this is the same place and on the same day as WWE's Clash of Champions, where Brock Lesnar takes on Randy Orton. We know there's still business to be had between you and Brock. Is there any chance fans may see you attend or possibly even feature in the event, since you'll be right around the corner?
Oh man, I'll be featured on Bischoff's podcast event. That's about it in Indianapolis. It's purely coincidence, man. It is what it is. I'm by no means trying to bilk off of WWE being in town. It was something that I found out kind of afterwards. But for a promoter, it's a great idea. To get Bischoff and I together anywhere is a great idea, because I haven't seen and or been around him since I left the world of professional wrestling at WCW. To be on his podcast and for him to ask me those smart-ass questions that I know he's going to ask me, I think that may be very entertaining for the people who attend, because hopefully the ones in the first couple of rows will get some blood splattered on him when I squeeze his head like a pimple. But, the truth is, he's the one that got me into the business. He and I have a long history. and we got a lot of dirt on each other. So I don't know how deep we're going to go, but I think it's going to be quite entertaining for everybody. And like I say, Brock knows where the gym is. Brock knows where I live, and I'm not contractually bound to any deal with WWE, so I have no business being around anything that they're doing right now, and it's purely by coincidence. And but hey, I could get a phone call between now and then. You never know.
Yeah, and just checking, because the WWE, they would have seen the news. The news has been everywhere. No one's reached out from you from the company just yet to invite you to the event since you're going to be in the same town?
Oh man, they don't do that. They don't. They've got their own. They got their own agenda, man. I'm a 49-year-old has-been over here that just so happens to be in their new video game, and it's an honor for me to do it. It's an honor for me to take place in it. And hey, I have no issues with them anymore. Like I said, to be able to do anything with them at this point is a true testament to my ability to deliver for my son. So that's it.
All right, Bill, we appreciate the time. Just before we let you go, we'll let you go in just a second, but we just wanted to ask you mentioned in Brock Lesnar, just curious what you thought of his performance against Mark Hunt at UFC 200.
Man, it was the problem is that UFC's got too many damn events now, because that was so long ago. I've seen so many events since then. I'm kind of convoluted in that one runs into the next one. Whether it's Verdum fighting this last weekend or whatever it may be, man. It's there's so many to run together. But obviously Hunt, it didn't. Man, I don't know. How am I going to pass judgment on this fight? I'm surprised that Hunt didn't attack him a lot more. I think that his stand-up ability could be exploited a lot more so than it was, and I think it could have been a huge difference in that fight. I think he's also shown the ability to stop takedowns a lot better than his first match in Pride, which I was there for. So,
wow.
it was a lot. It was different than I thought it was going to go, truthfully. But I'd like to see it again. I really would.
Yeah, it was an interesting situation as well, because it was a cross-promotional situation between the WWE and the UFC. I'm just curious, what do you think about this whole cross-promotion thing that they're doing? And Conor McGregor calling the WWE roster dweebs, and now Randy Orton sort of trash-talking Conor McGregor. When you see all of this happening, do you just see it as a big work, or do you like seeing this?
I thought the funniest thing I've ever seen was Orton calling him Conor McDonald. I think that is one of the funniest things I have ever seen. Hey man, you have to embrace it. It's the same crowd. One grows up and feeds into the other. You can't tell me that, and I said it before, but 75% of the guys wouldn't die to be professional wrestlers that are fighting, and vice versa. We have a lot of respect for each other. A lot of us train in martial arts, and a lot of them walk around and act like they're us. So the cross-promotion, Dana White's Vince McMahon in training. I said that 20 years ago. I think it's business. I think it's smart business, whether it's what's her name at WrestleMania, whether Conor's working this thing, I can tell you the one thing. I was around when Brock responded to Conor, and Brock, nothing that Brock does is a work. So the words that came out of his mouth, he fully believes, and I do also. And I think that if it wasn't a work, then it's a sad situation when you have to talk crap about other organizations that it's never gonna, your paths are never gonna cross competitively. So at the end of the day, you're kind of like a keyboard warrior, unless you want to step into a guy's gym, or unless you want to do it on TV and meet in the middle. I always thought that was kind of cheap, but he doesn't know what he's talking about if he actually thinks that. I think that the cross promotion is brilliant. As long as it doesn't get hokey for the UFC, and as long as WWE can capitalize on the realism of what the UFC brings, it sure enhances Brock's stock when he walks over to do sports entertainment. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously CM Punk's appearance on UFC 203 did a lot in terms of pay-per-view buys, and it's good for business on everybody's sort of end. Final question, Bill, and then we're letting you go. Again, with Brock, the fact that he obviously failed a post-fight drug test with anti-estrogen, it upset a lot of people, a lot of fans. Where do you sort of land on that situation? Do you still want to see him come back and fight in the UFC again?
Absolutely, man. And, I don't even know what that thing is he took. I don't... I've never broached anything along those subject matters with Brock. That's his business. And like I said, what you just said is the second time I've ever heard of whatever that was, and the first time is when I read it. I don't even know what the hell it does. But obviously, if you're cheating, then you should be reprimanded, period, end of story. And do I think that he deserves an opportunity to go back? Absolutely, because people have been caught before and had served suspensions and paid fines and come back, and at the end of the day, they're instant heels. So, I mean, it further adds to the mystique of Brock, except for the fact that he was turning the leaf and being a baby face at that last fight. So, that's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah, and he also came into that fight as a Canadian, which a lot of people thought would turn him into a heel. But Bill, thank you so much for your time. All right, guys, if you're lucky enough to be located in Indianapolis on the 25th of September, make sure to buy tickets to Bischoff on Wrestling Live. You can do that at markoutmoments.com. They're only $20. If me and Casper were there, we'd just buy a bunch of tickets just for ourselves to make sure we've got enough area to enjoy this thing. This thing's going to be a can't miss event. Better hurry up because tickets are going to sell out to this thing really, really quickly. And also make sure to follow Bill on Twitter at Goldberg to keep up to date with all of his latest projects. And also check out his official website, www.billgoldberg.com. He is always in a cool classic car, and there's always something exciting happening with Goldberg, so make sure you keep an eye on it. Bill, it's been such a pleasure having you on this program. Thank you for making this 100th episode special to us.
You know what? It's an honor, man. And again, like I said, it's an honor to be involved with such esteemed guests, and those two are legends in their own right, man. Stipe, what he's been able to do over the past couple of years, very honorable, man. Hats off to his dedication and his ability to come back from being leveled and whatever it may be. But and that Don Fry character, man, you better watch out for him. He is one piece of work, but he's an idol of mine, and I am just honored to call him a friend. So you're in great company, gentlemen. So congratulations on your 100th episode.
Thank you. And we know you were actually the first person to call Don when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He mentioned that to us. So there we go. How's that for destiny? Bill, we'll let you go. We really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll talk in the future.
You got it, gentlemen. Have a good one.